Welcome to Talking Hoosier Baseball. We are recording this on Monday, March 31st, 2025. I am Carl James, joined by Zach Horwitz, Chris Feeney, and Cassidy Palmer. It was a frustrating week for Indiana baseball, which lost its third Big Ten weekend series of 4 so far this season. What really makes it frustrating was the Hoosiers were 4 innings away from winning the rubber match this weekend against USC, and they had a 9-run lead. The Hoosiers did get the week started with a solid run rule, 7 innings against Bellarmine, which was a shutout. A couple weeks ago, we said it would be good if Indiana could go 3-3 against the 2 Los Angeles teams. Well, the Hoosiers came up a game short in that, and now find themselves at 500 in the league. Well, let's go ahead and kind of get right into it because it's one of those peel the Band-Aid kind of weeks. I know it's 2-2, but we all know that series should have been won.
First of all, I'll start out during the Bellarmine game as a whole. We're all fans of the team, but I wanted to say thank you for all the engagement in promoting not just myself, but our brand here at IU Base. As part of student media myself, this kind of stuff is really huge. And if you haven't seen the viral post on X, it was about Carson Brower, the pitcher from Bellarmine. He was born with a limb difference and pitches like Jim Abbott, who is in the MLB, throwing and catching with the same left hand. So that reached close to 300,000 views and created coverage from guys over at D1 Baseball, the Big Ten, and even NCAA baseball sites as a whole. So just want to say I'm grateful for the platform I have and to be able to share stories like that one. So there's that. Now we'll get into this week. Just some quick recap. So Tuesday against Bellarmine was a 13-0 run rule. That game was simply not competitive. That Bellarmine team just isn't great. The main takeaway is getting the freshmen more and more playing time against some of the lower tier pitching. Jake Hanley and Cooper Malamazian, they both had big days. And Jake talked to us after the game about comfortability as a group, seeing that kind of pitching after the weekend at UCLA the week prior, just seeing that kind of stuff. So we'll look at USC in the entire picture first. There were 29 runs allowed in 3 games. So that puts you in a bad position to win baseball games. And granted, they should have taken 2 of them. I feel like after the first day, they did have a chance. They did have a good chance. Kraft and Siebold, they split up game 1 with Gavin Siebold struggling and Indiana rather punting the game away to save pitching. They lost 10-5, but only used 2 pitchers, and then Caleb Koski got 1 out, so really 3. Then they bounced back that same day with a 13-6 victory while using Cole Geely, Grant Holderfield, and Pete Haas. So for most baseball teams, using a combined 5 pitchers to eat up 2 games in a singular day would set you in a good position. But I feel this team is different, and it's no secret, and Jeff Mercer is not afraid to admit it. They're short in the bullpen. There's not much overpowering stuff, and Cole Geely is really the lone pitcher that I feel confident in when he takes the mound. That's healthy as of right now. So I know everyone wants to hear about this one Saturday's rubber match. It could not have been off to a better start. Indiana had a commanding 12-3 lead. It was Devin Taylor, Corbin Dickerson, and Tyler Cerny. In fact, I was thinking in my head that Indiana could possibly scratch off another run, get 6 outs, and maybe a run rule could have been in effect. But instead, they completely crumbled. There was no excuses. A 9-run lead was erased with 10 unanswered from the Trojans. And I think the main part of that, which we spoke, is that Ben Grable only got to go 3 innings coming off of short rest and his injury the year before. So when pitching decisions happened is my issue. Post game, Jeff Mercer took the blame, leaving Anthony Gubitosi in there after loading the bases with some walks. The lead slowly dwindled, and the offense went completely stagnant. They hadn't scored since the 4th inning. But simply, I think there needs to be a shorter leash and maybe give different guys a chance that are hungry. If you aren't sharp, you're out of the game. I've watched hundreds or even thousands of baseball games, and I've never really seen a lead diminish as quickly as it did. So Indiana kept freshman Trey Telfer in the game, not exactly a highly touted guy, but he pitched the inning before. He let up a 2-run home run to lose the lead in the 9th. They had guys available and ready. USC had already seen Telfer before, and that was going to the top of the order with Braden Dowd and Ethan Hedges. The coaching staff was holding on, just felt like straight up desperation to me. But to answer the question, Indiana needs to look in the mirror. You changed the season goals. It started with hosting a regional, then to winning the Big Ten regular season. And I think now you just need to get into the conference tournament and maybe win it. The bats are rolling and they can compete with anybody. They get Jacob Vogel back in the bullpen and hopefully Drew Burr in the coming weeks. They have RPI boosting opportunities coming up even this Tuesday with Louisville. So really, the time is now to turn it around. They need to go on a run, fill some holes in the bullpen. Someone needs to step up that's not named Cole Gilly. So I think Indiana really could be the best team in the Big Ten outside of the West Coast bunch. To get an at-large bid isn't completely out of the picture, but they got to get going quickly.
Yeah, and I think it's important to you make a really good point there, Zach. It's important to kind of look at the numbers. Indiana is roughly a tad bit ahead of where they were this time last year. And most people would be like, how is that possible? Now, keep in mind, March was really bad last year. Really, really bad. February was better. Don't get me wrong. Last year's February was better than this year's February, but March was so bad that it really stung. And then they turned things around. Um, and overall, our issues with this weekend isn't that the team looked bad. It's that they looked bad for that last half of that one game.
In the midweeks, it's and granted, different level of competition, but it's kind of been working the okay, you get an inning and you get an inning and you get an inning and you get an inning. Throw your inning, get your job done, you're golden.
Yep.
That'd
I
be
I
a
think
little much
you also
on
have
the
a couple
weekend.
days off before you play again, so that's something else you can do then.
Yeah.
I don't think you could pull that off at 27 innings.
No, but I think you do have a couple of guys who could, instead of doing 2 innings in one game, could do an inning on Friday, inning on Sunday, or do
Yeah,
two in one, one in the other.
it was just a
Yeah.
weekend of runs, man.
Yeah,
Weekend.
Well,
the wind didn't
They have
help.
scored us what 7-1 in the last 3 innings of the first game. Then we go up 25-9. It
Uh-huh.
literally was that we had outscored them 25-9, and then
Uh-huh.
lost 10-0.
yep.
It's
And in that
wild.
first game, and you think about it, and you look at it, it's just you understand it because Seabold had already thrown 2 innings, and they had a lead at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
so
it was
some of
sort
them
of
were the
like,
junk runs anyway. Yeah,
and it was, what are you going to do after that? So at that point, I I can't argue with the decision that it's like
Oh yeah.
you need to go for the game,
Yeah.
yeah.
and yeah, because
And
Seabold
it proves the
put up
point even
two
more though,
zeros. Yeah.
Yeah.
because it's like the 7-1 wasn't even as bad as 7-1 looks.
Hmm.
And then
Yeah.
we outscored them 25-9 before the horror movie came.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it was like the things just kept coming. From,
Yeah.
I understand just a lot of frustration, a lot of people angry, a lot of people want answers. Guys on the party right here, we want answers. Like, how in the world could that have happened? Um, I mean, seriously, I told you I missed a lot of the end of that, but just from reading and catching up on what had happened, it was like one of those horror movies where, like, the guy's coming, the guy go
Uh-huh.
somewhere else, but they don't, and then they get it.
Yeah. My
Yeah,
overarching concern actually isn't about this season. I have this confidence, which because we're seeing some of the same patterns that they're gonna figure this out between getting guys healthy, really getting to know and understand what they have from each pitcher, and getting some development from specific pitchers. That and again, I mean, if this whole core is almost all upperclassmen, and that's been talked about a lot. But my real concern is looking at next season and the fact that you have a lot of these touted young guys that the staff doesn't feel comfortable in using in these games at all. And and we talk about, well, these are high leverage situations. I would have to think a 9-run lead isn't massively high leverage.
no,
It's important because you want to
Yeah.
hold it, but maybe that's an opportunity to throw someone like Brayton Thomas, or a sophomore like Ryan Rushing. Um, and I know they were available because at least they were throwing. I mean, they were at least warming up in the bullpen. Again, I guess it's still possible there could be some sort of injury thing or something. I don't know, but it concerns me that they're not comfortable with utilizing freshmen. There are other programs, and I agree. There's a lot of leaning on experienced guys in a lot of these programs, but it seems like everybody's got a couple of, at least one or two freshmen that see significant innings. And it's become rarer and rarer and rarer with this Indiana pitching staff that that these highly touted key freshman guys. And I mean they put, we interviewed Brayton Thomas in a media event in the preseason. Um, they were thinking highly of him, and we just haven't. I mean, he's performed well when he has been used, but I think he hasn't even pitched 5 innings yet. And maybe that changes tomorrow. Maybe he gets an inning or two tomorrow. We'll see. But it just feels concerning that when you've got to eat innings, and I mean, just trying to hold a 9-run lead, that can these guys be trusted to do that and to help them develop, because they're going to need to cover a lot more innings when they're when they're not freshmen and sophomores, but they're juniors, and when they're sophomores and juniors. And I have that concern. But at the same time, I do recognize, for example, that they redshirted Jacob Vogel his freshman year. And he did, in his redshirt freshman year, become a key arm. I'm definitely encouraged that Jacob Vogel was able to get those 2 outs, that his velo was up to 92. He looked pretty much like Jacob Vogel to us. So, there is the question, why couldn't have he come out to start the 9th? And even Jeff Mercer offered that up without any specific prompting. So that's a hindsight in 2020 thing, that maybe he should have just started that. And you can't say for sure that the same thing wouldn't have happened.
Right.
Hedges
way.
was on a tear. It may not have mattered who was throwing against him.
I think he hit 2 more home runs today, Carl. I heard he hit 2 more today.
Yeah, so it's like, I mean, the part of this is tip your cap to USC.
Yes.
They did not give up.
Yep.
Their pitching, it was a complete reversal. You talk about that run, Chris. 5 innings, Indiana didn't score anything. It didn't really threaten.
Reached base once.
10-0. We didn't get a guy to second base.
Only got one. Only got one guy to first base.
Yeah, coach says USC completely, after trying which we know, and honestly, you have to be happy that Indiana managed to adjust to a team that was throwing almost entirely junk on purpose to try to get to Indiana. And when Indiana got to them, flipped the script with other guys and had them come in and start throwing fastballs, and completely messed up IU's hitting timing. So again, I tip the cap to USC, because they adjusted well in those situations and kept at it when I think to your point, Zach, you don't see this. I think a lot of it's mental. It's not that team. I mean, obviously, no one would say, "Oh, there's no way this U.S. team could come back." We saw them hit on Friday. We knew they could produce runs, but there is just that mental aspect of, you're down by 9 runs. And a lot of baseball's about confidence.
Mm-hmm.
For a team like that to stick with it, keep their confidence, and make that comeback, you do have to tip your cap.
Yeah, it'd be 12-3, then it became 12-6 in an inning, and then I think it got to 12-8 or 9, and that's when you're really opening your eyes. They're just holding on. Mercer and Glant, they're just hoping that they can find a way out of this game. The momentum totally flipped. You could feel it. And then also, just to cap off the weekend, with Ethan Hedges at the plate, then he came out in the 9th inning and closed the game out, throwing low 90s. They're just pumping fastball, and just blowing it by the Indiana hitters to finalize the game in the series.
Yeah,
it was definitely one to forget. That's for sure.
And I will say, if there's some minor consolation prize, it's that IU did not have the worst weekend in the Big Ten.
Who would that be?
Oregon losing the series even losing 1 to Ohio State was not great for Oregon.
To lose 2 out of 3.
But to lose the series, that is rough.
I might have given that better odds than the game 12-3 in the fourth. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Well, now I will say this. I will give that makes me though feel better about the Big Ten. One of my concerns about the Big Ten going into this week is that none of the Big Ten teams from last year had beat the Pac-12 teams from this year. And this week, that script got flipped big time. Unfortunately, Indiana couldn't be part of that party, but Rutgers took the series from Washington. Ohio State took the series from Oregon. And while it wasn't a conference series, honestly, I think it's even bigger that Nebraska took a series from Oregon State. So you put all those together, that's making me feel better about the conference and the fact that, I'm actually happy that I'm doing so bad in Big Ten Pick'em because, and this is the thing, I went with the numbers this last time and I still did horrible.
I
So,
did equally as bad.
but I went strictly off Diamond Sports Rating and it was an absolute disaster. The system that D1 Baseball uses as their predictive model was just an absolute disaster. But UCLA now leads the conference. Both they're tied with Iowa at 10-2, but they have a much better RPI. They're fifth in RPI, and they have now passed Oregon in the D1 rankings thanks to that Ohio State series. So UCLA is 14th in the country. Oregon is now 15th in the country. So those are the two ranked teams. Indiana, in my calculus, which includes all the tie breaking and stuff, has Indiana right smack dab in the middle, 6-6 at 8. That sweep against Ohio State doesn't look so bad. Doesn't look so chintzy now.
No.
And again, I stress sweeping any team is tough. I think sweeping any team in this league is really tough. So yes, Indiana's lost 3 series, but at least Indiana has not got swept in those, and the one they won was a sweep. So it's 6-6, having completed the West Coast part of the schedule. I think bodes relatively well. You look at Warren Nolan's prediction algorithms, which have a lot of flaws to them. I completely get that, but one thing I do think tends to be pretty right, which is okay. They have this is where a team's going to end. They have Indiana ending at 31 wins, and I looked at the thing. It does not at all look out of the realm of possibility that they get to those 31 wins. And they have that as an RPI of 49, which generally those are pretty accurate. That whatever that answer is, whatever that win total is, based the idea of what the RPI is going to look like, tends to be pretty accurate. Indiana's playing almost all teams with winning records from here on out. A couple of midweeks, 2 against Evansville and 1 against Indiana State are the exceptions. I think Indiana State's going to be above water by the end of the year. They're playing pretty well right now. It's also very possible that Evansville did win their series last weekend. Evansville is going to turn things around in the Missouri Valley Conference as well. It could be every team Indiana plays from here on is going to have, a winning record. I don't know how bad Purdue's gonna fall, but they did so well with collecting wins against bad teams early that that'll probably still hold up relatively well going forward.
They're very good at that, year after year after year.
And they've done it with
Like
different coaching
18-1
staffs.
every year.
And they've done it with different coaching staffs, so it's just interesting how that.
No, it's from the AD. I've heard that.
Oh, it is.
It wasn't
Okay.
a coaching thing. The AD wants his wins. He wants them early. He likes to see the 17-0. I heard he likes the thing. Who's still undefeated? They send it out. Oh yeah, that's from the top.
Yeah, but right now they wouldn't get into the Big Ten tournament. So.
Yeah.
Oh, what a shame. You watching this game, Zach?
Yeah, I wish I can turn it off.
I
Me and
figured
Zach have a little wager on the series: a hot dog, a pretzel, and a soda at the Bart. Whoever wins the series. Mets are up 8-1 in game 1 in the 6th inning. Right now.
In the middle of my first segment talking here, I saw Pete Alonso rounding the bases checked my phone
Salami.
for the Grand Slam. So this one's
He
done.
gets a red belt. Alonso gets a red belt for this game already for the series. Oh no! All right, Cole, you want me to get to these red belts?
Yep, let's go ahead and get to the red belts. Are we doing a new special red belt? Is that going to happen?
Yeah. So there's a
Okay.
fourth red belt now, but it's like one of those ones where you don't always have to use it
Yeah.
because you don't want to just have it to have it. Like it's only if the thing actually occurs. So for the first red belt pitching award, Cole Gilly is collecting these things like anybody would. But obviously, this is the one. He actually got 2 wins on the week because coach announced it was a bullpen day in that first game, so they gave it to him for pitching the first inning. So he had 10 strikeouts, 1 walk, 6 total innings. He moves him to 5-1. Cole Gilly's building up a nice record here for his season as a Hoosier. Offensively, there was a really good battle between Tyler and Jake. It's closer than you think. I know I saw that Jake won freshman player of the week for the big this week. But I mean, Cerny gave him a run for his money. If you go through the box score, it's like double home run. Cerny, and then Jake doing it too. And then Cerny and then Jake doing it too. Double home run, double home run. So Jake did hit 3 in a row. He hit 3 home runs in 3 consecutive games. He had more RBIs, and he scored a couple more runs. So Jake's going to get the Alex Dickerson Award. And then for the defensive, and this one I feel really good about giving out because maybe not one. Actually, there was one really nice play he did make up against the wall there in right center. Andrew Wiggins is going to get the defensive player of the week and the Tony Butler Award. He's played a solid right field this year. I know he had some issues out there early last year. Maybe he wasn't as comfortable. The angles, the ball right at him. He's done a lot better with that this year. And it gets him in the lineup. And I like a lineup with Andrew Wiggins in it. I don't know. Call me crazy. So I think it's good that his defensive game has improved. And, it's just something to acknowledge his defense. And, when you make a great play, you're going to get acknowledged for it. And sometimes that great play is made in the stands, okay, or possibly even press boxes or in home run areas, wherever it might be. So we're going to open up our 4th red belt for this week. Never done before. This will be the first award. It's the Brent Tonsoni Award, okay, because he's probably got the most famous foul ball. We'll call it retrieval. I know he didn't catch it in the air, but still, he got that ball when Matt Lloyd hit the walk-off against Minnesota. And Zach gets the first Brent Tonsoni Award because I heard he made a great play at the bar. Why don't you take it, Zach? Describe to us the play for those who haven't seen it.
Yeah, it was so I was really looking down. I took a pitch off, and then I hear a bunch of chatter from the fans in front of me. I was sitting outside this day. Usually I'm in the press box, so my foul ball chances are 0 unless the glass breaks. But I see everyone looking up. The ball ricochets off about 3 rows in front. It comes up, and one hand with the left got the grab, held it up, a little cheer from the crowd, but that's the first of the year. And I maybe if I'm outside more, I can get some. And I called it before the game started too. I was telling the guys, I was like, I have a good feeling about a pop-up coming behind home plate today, and it's all me.
That's even part of the Brent Tonsoni Award because the only reason me and Brent were way out in the outfield, it was wet, gray. We were down by 4, and I could see it right behind you, that picture there. We walked the ramp. We walked all the way around. He goes, listen, here's what's going to happen. We're down by this many, but if this many guys get on, it'll be Lloyd, and Lloyd will hit the walk-off, and we'll be right here for the ball. Insane. So it was like 6 or 5 batters earlier. He predicted it, just like you predicted you getting your ball. So definitely fitting. You get the first Brent Tonsoni Award. And if anybody sees a great catch, in the crowd, let us know. Maybe they might get a Brent Tonsoni Award. Hopefully, not too many home run balls hit by the Louisville Cardinals on Tuesday, but foul balls will be good. Catch some foul balls of theirs. Cash, you got our preview for Louisville?
Yes, I do. Thank you, Chris. So Louisville's coming into the BART as of this moment, tomorrow, Tuesday. It might be Tuesday when you're listening to it, and then in that case, it's today. Coming in Tuesday, 6 p.m. Eastern Time. I will note I took a quick look at the forecast, and as of when I looked last night, it was looking like a high of 58. So for those of you going to the BART, you might want to bring a jacket with you for when that sun goes down. does get a little bit chillier on those metal bleachers. So in a departure from my recent midweek previews, Louisville is currently ranked 18th in the country. Their RPI is a little lower at 43, but this is a team that's 20-7 on the year. They've been strong. And I will note that they are 1-3 away from home this year. They haven't played many true road games thus far, but they're also 5-1 in midweeks, including holding that potent Northern Kentucky offense to just 1 run. On the pitching side, once again, I am not venturing a guess as to the starter because Louisville also uses it as a bullpen game. We'll likely see somewhere between 6 and 8 pitchers, most going 1 inning. Couple of guys might go, like they've got a couple of guys who might go 2. And from what I can see, they don't tend to do a ton of mid-inning pitching changes in midweeks, even when the pitcher gets into trouble. So that's something to note. They're a little boom or bust in midweeks for the pitching staff, a little mercurial. They either give up almost nothing, like that Northern Kentucky game giving up just 1 run, or they give up a lot, like 11 runs versus Butler and 12 versus Cincinnati last week. So it tends to be one or the other. Either they've really got this team down and they're not giving up anything, or they're giving up a lot of everything. The staff as a whole has a 5.35 ERA, 2.67 batting average against. Actually lines up pretty similar to IU's numbers statistically. They've given up 34 home runs thus far in those 27 games, so a little over 1 a game. Issuing about 5 walks a game compared to 10 strikeouts per game. But that number is really influenced by their 2 big weekend starters. When you look at just those midweeks, they're sitting at 7 to 8 per game. Some games even they had one midweek with 2 strikeouts. So again, mercurial is a good way to describe Louisville in midweeks. On the offensive side, they're hitting .324 as a team, also with 34 home runs. They're drawing about 6 walks a game compared to 6 strikeouts per game, and on average they're about 2 for 3 on stolen base attempts each game. They currently have 64 stolen bases in 71 attempts. They run a lot. I did find it interesting, about a third of their hits are extra base hits. They just tend to be a bit more double heavy than home run heavy. All 7 of their qualifying bats are currently hitting above 300. The couple of guys that stand out are Jake Monroe. He leads the way for batting average at 398, with an OPS of about 1100. And then Tag Davis, he's the big power bat to watch for. He has a 325 average, 10 home runs, and about a 1200 OPS. So that's Louisville. Unlike the previous weeks, this one does not fall into the category of must win to avoid a bad loss. This falls into the category of it would be very nice, it would likely be helpful, particularly if IU finds itself anywhere near the bubble, but a loss is not season ending here. It's not as bad as my previous midweek ones would have been. So that's Louisville. On the IU side, we also expect to see a ton of pitchers. In a similar departure from recent weeks, it will not be Gilly opening. It will be Ryan Kraft. I would be very surprised to see him go more than an inning. I honestly don't know if anyone will go much more than an inning. It'll depend how much they're uh weighing the win over number 18 Louisville versus bullpen availability for the weekend. And speaking of the weekend, the Hoosiers will be hosting Michigan State in Big Ten play, and Chris has our preview.
All right, guys. Thanks. Yeah, the Spartans are 17-10 on the season, 4-5 in the Big Ten, and 4-4 on the road. So they just came off of losing the first two to Illinois, but winning the Sunday game, and they're going to be playing 2 games before they play us. The Lansing Langnuts and Bowling Green. So that's their Tuesday, Wednesday matchups. And then, so I mean, that's pretty cool. They get to burn out another 18 innings before they play us, and hopefully we just run rule Louisville and save some innings, on Tuesday. So that's what I'm hoping for. If the games are at the bar, obviously, I don't know if we have played a true, actual at the right time series yet this year, but if we do, 6 o'clock on Friday, 2 o'clock on Saturday, and 1 o'clock on Sunday.
It's not looking too promising for that.
I was going to say, I didn't want to say it. The weather don't look great. I think there's probably going to be a bit of a switch. Again, it's a crapshoot. You never know. Will they move it to Sunday? Something's going to change, though. I doubt those 3 will get played at those times. But that is the original schedule, so we'll go with that. I looked up a couple of big hitters from Michigan State. You got Ryan McKay. He's a sophomore to look out for. He's hitting 364. He's got 52 total bases. And then there's Sam Bush, a redshirt senior. He's got 8 home runs, hitting 321, and he has 58 total bases. Okay. Now, the star of their team is Joseph DeZerwa. He's 6'8". He's their Friday night guy. He's been throwing Friday nights, I feel like, for 2 years now. I mean, I think he threw Friday nights by the end of the year as a freshman.
Yeah.
I remember, right? Yeah. So, for those who haven't seen him pitch, he's all arms and legs. Then Chris Sale, but taller and skinnier even. Like literally, Chris Sale's 6'6", 180. This kid's 6'8", 200. So it's basically what he's going to get. He's got the 95-mile-an-hour gas. He's already won pitcher of the week twice in the big, this season. He's 5-0 with a .127 ERA, 54 Ks and 42 innings. We've given up a few innings, a few innings this year. We have given up more than 6 runs, correct? I believe we have. He's given up 6 runs all year. So there's really, that's the season this kid's having. Something I really thought was impressive. There was a point where he struck out 7 batters, and in that game, had 24 swings and misses. So tons of whiffs, tons of guys looking silly. This is going to be a challenge on Friday at noon, whenever the game is played. He's the real deal. He's legit. He just came out as number 50 on Baseball America's, draft picks. So what's that? Somewhere in the second round, late second round.
Yep.
This guy's the real deal. It's only you put a 1 next to his 5. And then Cole Gilly and Mr. Draft Pick can have the same 5 and 1. It'll be great. So we'll see. Zach Maxey, looks like they moved him over to Saturday. Sunday's been a mix and match. It's like, if you look at all the starters, they've been just, seeing what works, except for on Friday. So, but Zach Maxey, he's 3-0. He's a righty. But it's the Friday game's the big one. We're going to have a challenge against us. Obviously, we don't hear any more Sunday or whatever that was, late Saturday, horror music, late in games. Get a lead, keep a lead, add leads, add on runs. We can't have what happened this week and happen again. Regardless of the opponent, it doesn't matter. Just get out early, score often. I like to call them Geico runs. Get the insurance runs. Just do it, because this cannot happen again. Hey, I'll take a sweep. I won't be at any of the games. I'll be in New York for the Mets opening home opener weekend. But enjoy the games whenever they all played. And I've noticed this season more than ever that fans are really starting to notice that the bleachers make noise if you stomp on them. And from what I heard, the players really like it. So keep banging on those bleachers, folks. It's making a difference. And let's get 3 W's to add to our Big Ten schedule that Carl's going to talk about now.
Yep. I've kind of already hit upon a lot of the things in the Big Ten standings, but we will go ahead and go over this coming week's pick'em situation. as last week wrapped up within our group, and I apologize, I somehow forgot to actually announce Josh and Zach's picks, but they were on the website. So Josh is now in the lead with Zach at 17-8. Chris is just one series behind at 16-9. And Cass and I are far behind, and I'm farther behind than Cass. So we won't really go into the details there. It was a rough week. Coming up, though, we've got a lot of really great series. Rutgers and Nebraska both having coming off of having beat former Pac-12 teams. Well, actually, I guess Oregon State isn't a former Pac-12 team, but
They are the Pac-12.
they are the Pac-12.
The
Yeah,
Pac-
Nebraska beat the whole Pac-12
Pac-12.
It's the whole damn thing. Oh no.
Penn State is traveling to Minneapolis. Iowa's going to the Chicago area to play Northwestern. Maryland and Illinois will do battle in Champaign. Purdue is heading out to Washington. Ohio State is traveling to USC. And Oregon is coming. Sorry, no, I take it back. Michigan is traveling to Oregon. So that's the 4 series. So let's have well, actually, I'll go ahead and announce Josh first so I don't forget. All right, Josh will be picking Rutgers, Penn State, and Iowa as his road teams, and he's going to take Illinois, Washington, USC, and Michigan in their home series. So he is now that Oregon has been cracked, he's thinking Oregon's going to lose 2 series in a row. That will be very interesting. Zach is right up against him. Zach, who are you picking?
I'll take Nebraska over Rutgers, Penn State on the road at Minnesota, Iowa. Actually, I'm going to go Northwestern at home against Iowa. Iowa's 10-2 in the Big Ten, picking against them this week. Then Illinois at home against Maryland, Washington over Purdue, USC still sticking with hard to travel out west, and then same with Oregon there.
So wait, sorry. So are you? Okay, yeah. Sorry, you're picking Oregon. Okay.
Nebraska, Penn State, Northwestern, Illinois, Washington, USC, Oregon.
Okay. Chris, you're only a series behind. You're right in the thick of this. So
yeah, and I'm going home this weekend, so give me all the home teams.
Okay.
Every single one.
That's one approach.
Cass, you're up.
So, well, I am taking Washington, USC, Oregon. I'm taking the West Coasters. Oregon mainly because I think they're gonna be pissed, and I don't know that Michigan wants to play a pissed off Oregon. I'm gonna take Maryland over Illinois, although that one's close. Honestly, either way. I'm gonna take Rutgers over Nebraska because I think just with their injury, like they did take Oregon State, but the injuries are still difficult. It's a disadvantage. I'm gonna take Iowa at Northwestern because I think I've picked them wrong just about every week, and I would like to see them lose. So if I pick them to win, they'll lose. And then this one's a toss up for me, but I'm gonna go Minnesota at home.
Okay.
And I think that was everything.
Yep. I think you got them all. All right. Again, this time I'm not going to go by Diamond Sports because that really did not help me at all. So I'm going to go with my gut this time. I'm going to take Nebraska at home.
Home. Take the home team, Scott.
No, I'm going to go with Penn State. Penn State. I think. I not that Minnesota. I mean, I get Minnesota's played a tough schedule, but they just tend to lose. So I'm going to go with Penn State. This one's tough because I keep picking against Northwestern and it keeps burning me. but no, I'm not going to do it. I'm going with Iowa in that series at Evanston. I'm going to go. People keep telling me Maryland's supposed to be good. I've yet to see any proof of this.
No, but I'm not convinced by Illinois either.
Yeah, exactly. It's like that's exact. There's like the two teams are exactly in that same boat.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, I'm just going to go with the home team. I'm going to go with Illinois in that one. Washington over Purdue. I think Purdue is not the real deal. While I am encouraged by what Ohio State's doing, I don't see them doing that out west on the road. So I'm going to go with Southern Cal, and uh, I'm gonna assume Oregon's has gotten through their blip, and they will be fine against Michigan at home. So the Big Ten standings, you can see if you go to iubase.com. I update them at least once a day. Yeah, it took me a little while on Sunday. I was, but when I do them, it is a unique standings. Most of the other sites go by games back. Mine specifically follows the seeding process for the Big Ten tournament. So it's win percentage, and there are times when a team will actually be lower where the games back and win percentages don't exactly line up based on how many games teams have played with all the weird bye situations. So far, every Big Ten game has been played. There's not been any canceled. But you've got so you'll see the Big Ten standings like that, and I will even include the reasons by the official tiebreaker rules why ties were broken, and it is indeed a 1 through 17. Every tie is broken. The caveat in that is that the regular season championship can be shared. That is something that can be tied. But the seeding is not tied, and clearly the 12 teams to make the Big Ten tournament, that stuff is not tied. And the seeding is very important because getting those, and Zach has brought this up multiple times with the old ACC model, which is now the new Big Ten model because the ACC has completely abandoned it. But getting one of those top 4 seeds is important going forward. So we'll see how that progresses, and you can check that against once a day. It includes, record, win percentage, game back, and RPI with a clear tiebreaker and ranking process that's in the Big Ten standings. So now we will go back to Chris, who is going to talk a little bit about with the opening of MLB play. There's been a lot of Hoosier alumni news. So, Chris, what do we have?
All right. Happy opening day. If you hadn't known yet, League Baseball has started to everybody. Apologize, couldn't be on last week to really kind of set the tone a little bit. I wasn't feeling too well. But yeah, the season has started, and we've had 5 assignments to AAA that we want to talk about. First one is Grant Richardson. He's playing for Scranton, Wilkes-Barre, the Rail Riders, which is the Yankees organization. He's already gone 2 for 4, scored 2 runs, and has 2 runs batted in. Matt Lloyd, AAA, Memphis Redbirds. He's already hit a triple and scored 2 runs and 6 at-bats. Craig Yoho, Nashville Sound, which I think is an outstanding team name, Sound. And there's not that many team names that don't end in S. So you got to throw Sound in there now with the Jazz and the Magic and all these other teams. But he already has 2 strikeouts in 1 and a 3rd inning. Matt Gorski and the Indians again. I know it's disappointing. I'm disappointed. I thought he would start the season with Pittsburgh, but I don't know what's going on. Again, for a lot of people, we get excited during AAA. But Matt, obviously, we're like, come on, get him in the majors. So hopefully it's not that long of a stay in Indy for him. And then Tanner Gordon playing for the Albuquerque Isotopes. I don't know if those are gloves or I'm not sure. I know. Is it an animal? What is it?
It's a physics thing because of the
Gloves?
No, physics. It's particles.
Because
so they're doing this Albuquerque because of Breaking Bad. Is that what's going on?
No,
like
nuclear stuff and things like that.
Because
like of MLB? I don't know. Either
and
way,
Area 51 and stuff like
Area
that.
51, Los Alamos.
Yeah. Oh, all right. The only thing I knew, I thought they were gloves. But either way, Tanner Gordon, 3 innings, 2 strikeouts for Tanner. And then obviously to start the season in Pro Bowl, Timmy Herron for the Guardians. He's thrown an inning and a third, 2 strikeouts. He's got 0 WHIP and 0 ERA. So he's been basically perfect, so far. And then we have Kyle Hart starting tonight for the Padres in about an hour as we're talking right now. It was a 9:40 start, and it's 8:40 now. So, and then obviously, most famous alum, Kyle Schwarber. He's already hit like 3 bombs. I had to edit this because he went today. He's had, I don't even know how many RBIs because I didn't edit the RBI part, but I know he's hit 3 bombs. When I wrote this out earlier today, he was 5 for 13. Had scored 3 runs. And I knew this was going to be a kind of a podcast that started kind of rough, because of the horror movie game and that we're talking about that. So I invented a trivia question for you guys to play. And I want to see how many we could get. We'll start with Zach, then we'll go to Carl and Cass, and we'll just go around until people can't think of one. But there are only 10 current MLB players with more home runs than Kyle Schwarber. Zach, give me one.
Geez. He is 3?
There's 10. There's only 10 current MLB players with more home runs than Kyle Schwarber right now.
Schwarber is 3. All right.
No. I'm talking career.
Career.
Oh, career.
Yeah.
Aaron Judge.
Just a career.
Aaron Judge.
Wait. Okay, that's one. Carl?
Freddie Freeman.
That's 2. Cass? I think we can do this. I have faith in you.
I don't know. I'm not as good with current MLBers. My first thought was Trout.
Boom. That's 3. Back to Zach.
Stanton.
4. Carl.
I'm just gonna keep talking my Dodgers. Mookie Betts.
No.
He isn't on there. Okay.
Mookie Betts has less home runs than Schwarber. He's 14th on the list. Kyle Schwarber is 11th on the current career list. Can you think of another one, Cass, or no?
Harper? Bryce Harper?
Yes, Bryce Harper is a yes. Zach, you're still alive.
I'll go back to my Marlins. Marcell Ozuna.
No, you're out. But by like 2. Marcell Ozuna and Mookie Betts had the same amount of home runs when I screenshotted this. So, Cass, you win. The whole list is Giancarlo Stanton, Mike Trout, Paul Goldschmidt, Freddie Freeman, Nolan Arenado, Manny Machado, Bryce Harper, Carlos Santana, Andrew McCutchen, Aaron Judge, and then Kyle Schwarber.
How did I not get?
Thing. Some of these guys have 8,000 plate appearances.
How did
Andrew
I not
McCutchen
get?
has 9,000. Guess how many Kyle Harris? 4,000.
Wow.
4,000. You're talking about half the amount of the at-bats. It's crazy what he's done. I mean, this the whole season. 2016 he didn't even play.
Yeah.
So just big shout out to Kyle. Gets another one today, which I didn't even know he would, obviously. So that moves him up. If he can get to, I think he'll get to Aaron Judge this year. Aaron Judge has 319. Kyle with the extra one today is 287. And that's not even counting his playoff bombs. And I think he might lead the majors in those too.
I think he leads in those, yeah.
Right? So it's really it's wild when you think about it. But we definitely want to give a shout out to our Pro Bowl Hoosiers. If you want to follow along the Twitter account at Pro Bowl Hoosiers, he does a really great job following all college sports all around the world. Obviously, we focus more on baseball here. But, if you wanted to focus on some women's European basketball, he's got you. He got card players. It was like some World Series of Poker guy. He's all over it. No, I'm serious.
He even had,
I believe it.
He even had
at Pro Bowl Hoosiers on Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, he even had Cade Crisco with the Berlin Flamingos.
Oh yeah, the German World Series. He was all over it. I think there was like a live interview. But yeah, cool. Disappointing weekend. But MLB has started, so let's give a little shine on that, and hopefully the pitchers get back on track for this weekend. And obviously the bats are already. I don't know what they scored 30 runs this weekend, so I'd say the bats are in good shape. And again, bang on those bleachers, make some noise. I'll try to make some noise at Citi Field. I'll try to get a sweep in New York, and IU gets a sweep here.
All right. Well, I think that'll take us out on a positive note. So I just want to say thank you for listening to this episode of Talking Hoosier Baseball. For more on Indiana University baseball, hit up iubase.com. For Cassidy Palmer, Chris Feeney, and Zach Horwitz, I'm Carl James. See you at the BART.